Well, the Rockies still have not signed any free agents. Should Rockies fans be concerned, or is this all part of the plan here in 2026? We'll talk about that and more coming up next on the DNVR Rockies podcast. Happy baseball solstice, everyone. Welcome into the DNVR Rockies podcast. Happy Tuesday. Is this our first official show of 2026? I think it is. It is. Happy 2026.
Welcoming a new year.
I know, it's good. It is baseball solstice, which do you know what that means?
It's exactly halfway between not baseball and baseball.
Something like that. Yeah. I think last pitch of the World Series and first pitch of either spring training or first pitch of the regular season. It's a beautiful day. It's a good day. And I know our headline today, our thumbnail said concerned ? And we're going to get into that. But Luke, no, I am not going to be crashing out. I'm only allowed one crash out this year. If you missed that, you can go back and check out our last show where we made New Year's resolutions. I'm only allowed one crash out. It's not going to be today. But I do want to ask the question, and you guys can drop a comment as well. Are we concerned? The Rockies have had a very quiet offseason when it comes to the roster side of things. Now, let's be clear before we dive into anything else. This team has done a ton of other things. Walker Monfort and company went out and completely redid the entire front office. We have a new president of baseball operations, which was not an existing role for the Rockies before this year. We have a new GM. We have a new assistant GM. We have technically a new manager. We have an entire new coaching staff. The list goes on. So this is not me saying that the Rockies have not done anything this offseason and it's been, par for the course for what the Rockies have been for years of just sitting around doing nothing. But now that the organization is in place, we have, for the last month or so, kind of turned our attention to the roster and free agents, trades, all of those kind of things. And it's been relative crickets. Is that something that you are concerned about? Is that something that you think the Rockies are just kind of, it's part of the plan? Like, what's your reaction to that?
I'm actually going to, shocker, spin this into a positive because that's what shocker. I do. But no, I actually think this, if you've been a Rockies fan for a while, you know that the deadline, they've always been quiet. It always feels like they're either the last to act on something or they're not doing anything at all. And while that looks on the surface kind of what this offseason has been thus far, they traded for essentially one major leaguer. We got Brennan Bernardino in the bullpen. They traded a minor leaguer for him, and that's kind of the only move that for a fact, health, all aside, that is going to contribute in 2026 to the major league roster, the team we watch at 20th and Blake, 81 games out of the season. To me, this signifies a little bit more of, I'm hoping that this is more calculated than in the past. Mm-hmm. And they're not making a move because they think they should make a move, or that not that they ever appeal to the fan base and Dick Monfort will answer some emails, which are funny always, but they know what the fans are saying, I think, for the most part, in general, like the Rockies organization. Now, this new organization, this new brass that they have, the new GM, new president of baseball operations, all that, I don't think they're as in tune with Colorado because they've never been here for a baseball season and been part of the Rockies where they hear the noise, because we know they hear it when the season's going on and you're losing 119 games, you hear the noise. But I'm hoping that this is more them becoming very calculated on, number one, and I've said it, and Josh Burns has said it, and everybody said it, they're really focused on the players they have here currently. And number two, they're going to take their time in adding players, because I do believe it's a domino effect for the Rockies in terms of once they sign or trade for one or two players, we'll be able to look at the profile of that said player and say, okay, this is what the Rockies are looking for. They can say all they want. They can say culture. They can say that they're going to, let's say, be really fast and steal bases. They can say they're going to go contact and get Luis Ariz. Like we will be able to tell the first couple of free agent signings and or trades that they make which way they want to go with this roster. And we know it's going to be a multiple year rebuild, but I do think that the players that they actually sign when that happens will be a really like one signing, and then it's like, all right, now we've got a bunch of guys in line that boom, boom, we're going to go here, we're going to go here, we're going to go here. But the main concern is with the guys they got in the clubhouse right now. And while that's a concern from the aspect of it's a 119 loss baseball team, it's also good that they're not just saying, hey, we're shipping all of these guys out because they lost 119 games. It appears to me they're actually trying to figure out why they lost 119 games versus just like saying, none of these guys are good. We need to clear them out, which may be the right, the right way to go. We'll see how that works out, but they're taking their time and figuring out who's here and how can we win with the guys that are here.
It's 2026 feels like the year of evaluation for this organization. And I get it. You know, the fans, myself included, want to see free agents signed. We want to see trades coming down the pipeline. But the reality is, I think you're right. I think this entire organization looks completely different from a front office and even from a, ownership standpoint, although the ownership is still the same. But, you've got Walker Monfort now kind of calling the shots instead of Dick Monfort. The organization looks completely different. And I think this is a year where they're saying, hey, we hired all of these good baseball minds to come in and fix the problem. Well, the way you got to start that is you have to figure out why the problem was a problem in the first place. What got us to this point in the first place? What decisions that Bill Schmidt and his organization made that weren't correct in the years past? What kind of led us to this point? And we even asked that to Walker Monfort when he was here on the show. Is there something you can pinpoint as to why this team got to a point where they lost 119 games? And he kind of gave us his take on it. But I think now it's Paul DePodesta's turn to kind of figure out, hey, what's the issue with these guys? Which guys do we think we can build on? Which guys do we think we need to replace? And how do we go about that? So yes, while I do think there is room to grow, obviously, I think this is going to be a year where we're just kind of waiting and seeing. And I know it sucks to hear that as a fan. And I get it. I'm going to be the first person to be watching games and thinking to myself, my God, I wish we had better players.
Yeah, like I knew this guy was not good enough to play, and he's going out there and getting 4 or 5 at-bats a night.
But I think they just they have to figure that kind of stuff out for themselves. There's no rush here, right? We might not even have baseball for part of the year in 2027. So 2026 for me is a year where you're just evaluating everything. And we will start to see some moves trickle down at some point. It's going to come. But for now, I'm not really concerned, if I'm saying that word specifically. I'm not really concerned about it. The fan in me wants to see more, but I think the logic in me says, look, we got to be patient. This is the long game.
Yeah, and let's be honest here. Paul DePodesta, all these hires, Paul DePodesta, Josh Burns, everybody that they've brought in to be either a GM, assistant GM, president of baseball operations, Paul DePodesta has been working for the Cleveland Browns for 10 years.
Yeah,
He's probably got a better idea of maybe now
of who the Browns should draft.
He's probably got a better idea of the 2026 NFL draft class up until about a month or two ago when he was hired than he does who plays second base for the Rockies at the AA level. Rock Reggio going to start by the end of the year. But you know what I mean? You got to give him some time. Now, Josh Burns is probably a little bit more in tune, but that's where they're taking their time and working together. And then add in how much they've told us and how much Warren Schaefer's told us that he has a say in it too to help them get up to speed. I think without Warren Schaefer, where I've defended the Warren Schaefer hiring and keeping him on, I would think it would be even quieter, and it may even be delayed a little bit more if Warren Schaefer wasn't part of this, because he is going to be the key on the guys that are in the clubhouse and what they have there and what they can get out of those guys.
Yeah.
Because everybody else is new. Everybody else has been in baseball other than DePodesta, but they haven't seen you don't extensively scout the Rockies.
No,
the
you're
Rockies
not studying the Rockies.
That you need to study. You come in here, you win 3 games, you win 3 out of 4 or 2 out of 3, and you leave. Yeah. This isn't a franchise that everybody's like, oh, this pipeline of players that they've had for 10 years is just like, we're waiting on this guy. You've got the big names in Condon and Holiday. And then you've got a lot of other guys that are really, like we've said multiple times, a fringe MLB player, but also really good AAA and minor league players that you have to figure out which one of those guys and which of those different players and different position players have earned the right to be an MLB player. But it's like you said, it's the year of evaluation. I think we should get a tattoo or a shirt or a hat that just says evaluation.
Yeah.
And wear those like what's the guy that wears just the NFL hat to NFL games?
Rob Lowe.
Rob Lowe. We just need to be Rob Lowe in the booth and just let's get black hats that just say evaluation.
Evaluation.
That's what this
Trust
year's
the process.
Be. And the reason this is so frustrating is not every team has to go through rebuilds at some point. Nobody just is perfect forever, right? Maybe the Dodgers, but at some point, every team has to go through rebuilds. I think the frustrating part for the fans, you guys listening, us covering the team, anybody covering the team, is this should have happened 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think or even maybe longer than that. And that's the biggest frustration is it's not the fact that we have to do evaluation and figure out where the Rockies are at. It's the fact that they already should have done that. And we feel like we're way behind. So that's where the frustration
It feels like this is
from.
the 50th rebuild that we've gone through. We've
Right.
said that over and over. I don't know if you guys saw this at home. If you haven't, head to Denver Post and check this out. Patrick Saunders had a good article where he talked on the phone with Paul DePodesta. Now, there was nothing groundbreaking. It was all relatively the same conversations we had in winter meetings. But he kind of put some more things out there about this topic specifically. Here are some quotes that I think add to all of this context. He said, quote, DePodesta is counting on new staffers, including general manager Josh Burns, assistant GM Ian Levin, and Tommy Tanous, and a slew of new coaches and coordinators to turn things around. And then Paul DePodesta went on to say, the biggest thing that we have done since I took over is make those additions. We have more people committed to certain tasks that will make us better. We're all on the same page. We've talked a lot about alignment from the minor leagues to the big leagues through our scouting department and through our internal development. All of that should be tied together. I see it going in that direction. So he was referencing basically the idea that they're not really being aggressive in bringing in new talent, and rather they're trying to get the most out of the talent that they have. Now, the only concern that I have about that specifically is I do think there is a limit with that, right? If that's their long-term goal, where the Rockies are saying long-term, and it's not what he was saying, just to be clear, but if that is what they were saying, that long-term, we expect this coaching staff to figure it out with the guys that we have, and that's what's going to get us to a playoff contention one day. That's not the right way of going about it. But I do think in this quote-unquote year of evaluation, that's a good game plan to have for now, right? You're trying to figure out what you have to work with, and you're trying to squeeze every bit of talent out of guys like Chase Dollander, Zach Veen, Jordan Beck, some of your prospects that you're trying to figure out if these guys are going to have a future within your organization. Him hiring, Paul specifically, going out and hiring all of these brilliant baseball minds to then say, hey, we're not going to go sign any big free agents as of now, but we're going to give you this organization, this team to work with, and it's your job to show us what you've got. 2026 is your year as an organization to figure out how to get the most out of these guys, and then we'll start making some decisions after 2027. I'm okay with that for now. I think that's a good approach.
Yeah, and there's nothing like in all sports, you kind of don't know what you have till it's gone sometimes. And the guys in-house, while it feels like it could be just easier to keep them in-house, they really haven't. You cannot concretely say that any Rocky right now is a bonus. Like there's no Shohei Ohtani's out there, and that's even going to the top of the top of the top. But there's not a single guy that you could say, hey, I've seen multiple 3 to 4 years of them in their career. They're a vet. They've solidified themselves. They have a great, batting average and on-base percentage, and they play great defense. Like every guy on the Rockies roster has either been a one and done and had a blip year and then gone down, and we hope goes back up. There's Hunter Goodman right now, who's at basically the peak of where he's ever been, and we're hoping can continue that growth. And Josh Burns, in another article, shout out our friend Thomas Harding of MLB.com.
There you go.
There we go. Josh Burns on the current roster, and this kind of just solidifies what we talked about. Quote, those guys and others, speaking of the Rockies, can be real players on a winning team. When you lost 119 games, it might not feel that way, but there is some talent here. We've got to max them out and add more talent around them. So while that sounds like it's one sentence, it's 2 steps. Maxing out the players and then adding around them. Now, we hope the add around them happens at least a little bit this year. I want to do an emergency pod. I want to talk
about a new veteran player
on this team. But then, like he said in another quote, like a lot of GMs, I don't think there are untouchables, but you do want to have core players. You've got to think through the guys that you can win with. That relates to age and service time. So when we talked and did our 26 predictions, one of mine was they'll trade a core player. That means you have a core. And we do believe the Rockies have a core, but they want to see that core for themselves of Doyle, Tovar, Goodman, and kind of those three is the main part of it, and then you can grow around that.
Yeah, 100%. And we got to take our first break of the show. After the break, though, Wolfgang, I see your question there. I want to get to that because it kind of ties into what we're going to talk about next. And also, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Zips Fangraphs put out their valuation of the Colorado Rockies for 2026, and I want to talk about that coming up next. Well, I want to give a huge shout out right now to a new partner of ours, our friends at Xfinity. I am so glad we're partnered with Xfinity because I've been an Xfinity customer for a long time. And the cool thing about Xfinity is if you are looking for some reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi, that's the place you got to go. They have their awesome Xfinity 5-year price guarantee, which basically means if you can lock in your deal today or within the near future, you can get that same price for 5 years, which is crazy. 5 years is a long time. I mean, I'm going to have double the gray hair in 5 years that I have today. The cool thing about Xfinity Wi-Fi as well is it is intelligent Wi-Fi. So it finds and fixes problems before you even notice them. We love to see that. Wi-Fi runs our lives. We know that. So use our friends at Xfinity. Go check them out and get some reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply. Well, I also want to give a huge shout out to our friends at Toyota. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. And I got to say, you guys know this if you've watched our show for a long time. Toyota is just a part of my DNA. It's a part of who I am. Been driving Toyotas forever, and I just can't say enough good things because there's so many good things to say about Toyotas. If you're interested in trucks, they've got the Tundra, they've got the Tacoma, all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, tons of cabin space, tons of options when it comes to trucks. If you're into SUVs like I am, I've got the 2024 RAV4 Adventure Series. It gets me where I need to go when I get out in the mountains, going fishing, hiking, backpacking, all the good stuff. But you can also go with the Highlander. You can go with the 4Runner like Spencer has. So many different choices to choose from. They've got hybrids. They've got gasoline, all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. So many choices. So you just can't go wrong with Toyota, and that's why we love our partnership with Toyota. So if you are in the market to buy a new Toyota, visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota and Boulder Grove Toyota, and Littleton Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson's Toyota Eastern Aurora, and Stevenson's Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. Well, Wolfgang asked in the chat, how do we shore up our scouting department at this time of the year? I think that goes back to one of the first quotes about Paul talking about leaning on the new organizational hires, specifically Tommy Tanous, again, probably saying his last name wrong, and Ian Levin. Both guys come from a background in scouting and development, which I think was the whole point of a lot of these hires was from an organizational standpoint, the Rockies embrace. We did a show about this, about a month ago, about the Rockies truly officially embracing the draft and development within the hires that they're making organizationally, hiring guys who have succeeded in drafting and developing in their other organizations. So to answer your question, I think that's how they do it. I think you've brought in these guys that have an experience, have a deep background on drafting and developing all of the talent that you have. Now, again, this isn't to say that next year the story is going to be the same where we're saying, hey, we've got all these great players here. Yeah, we lost 100 games, but we've got all these great players. But I think for where they're at right now, with all of these new faces within the organization, I don't mind them taking some time to even give it spring training and see how these guys are playing before they start making some of the bigger moves.
Yeah, and we've done a lot of analogies on this pod, so I'm going to continue with that. We even talked about this one last time. But we're buying a house here. The Rockies, the new front office is buying a house, right? And they've got it's a fixer-upper. It's definitely a fixer-upper. They're going to have to flip this house. But when you get into a house that you're fixing up, what's your first order of business? Is it to put a new sink in the bathroom upstairs? Like brand new, shiny, with all the shit around it? No, you got to clean up.
Probably Marissa's first order of business.
You got to clean up, right? You got to clean up the yard. You got to clean up the fence. You got to take things down. You got to do some
You
demolition.
got to see what you have to work with.
And that's what they're doing. It's demolition right now in terms of evaluating what's going to be a good piece going forward and what's not. And if the Rockies lose 100 games this year, which is part of our predictions, your prediction, I still think it's probably going to come true. That doesn't necessarily mean, just like Burns was saying and kind of reaffirming that, doesn't necessarily mean every player's bad. It just means the roster as a whole isn't good enough to compete and win baseball games. But that does not mean that Brenton Doyle and Ezekiel Tovar and Hunter Goodman and your bullpen and whoever surprises us, Zach Veen gets another chance, Jordan Beck, Mickey Moniak, Blaine Krim or Troy Johnston, whoever's going to play first base, whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean these guys can't be pieces on a winning team. It just means the team as a whole needs more.
Yeah.
And that's what they're going to try to figure out is not only where do we need more, but when we go to get more, do we want our bathroom to have the gray color waves and the gray tile and the gray countertops, or do we want it to be, white or do we want it to be black? They have their view on how they're going to build this baseball team, but they have to figure out what's going on within the team first before they're blowing it all up. Because and I'll ask kind of the chat this too. I don't know if I'd feel that good if they were literally telling me they were trading Doyle or releasing, they released guys like Tolia that we kind of figured out or fizzled out for the Rockies. But if they were just going in and redoing this entire roster right now and signing a bunch of, mid-level players like we think we have here, it doesn't signify progress to me. It just signifies a recycle.
Yeah.
It's just a circle of shit, essentially. A circle of we're doing the same thing. We're trading player X for player Y, but we don't think that, with the hope is that player Y is better than player X, but it doesn't signify change to me. What signifies change to me is figure out who you have, stick with that, cut the fat, get rid of those guys that you don't think are part of a winning team, and then add veterans or hopefully guys from AA, AAA this year and see hey, this guy in 2-3 years is going to be good. The vision is down the road, and that's hard to see. It's hard to see for me sometimes. I'm not going to be happy with them losing 100 games, but I will be happy them losing 100 games if we see significant progress towards one goal.
The vision is down the road. And I will say this, if we're talking about concerns or whether we're concerned or not, in the moment, I'm not concerned. But if this time next year comes around and we're having the same conversation, that's a totally different story. I think given the context of where the team is at right now, it's okay because you're reevaluating. However, the Rockies are, according to Paul DePodesta and these quotes that we've seen coming out, the Rockies are theoretically relying on their new coaches, this new development staff, pitching coaches, hitting coaches, all of that kind of stuff, to take a 119 loss roster and flip that upside down. The reality is that's just not going to happen. Yes, you might get at best, a Hunter Goodman leap from someone like Chase Dollander. That's what we're hoping for, right? You might get one of those, and then you might get a couple more slight improvements. But the reality is, this time next year, this team is not a playoff team. And I don't think it's crazy of me to say it never will be, right? This roster lost 119 games. That's more than just talent that's not developed. That's players that just don't have the ceiling to go up against the Dodgers in a 7-game playoff series and win. It's not going to happen. You're going to need new guys. But what needs to happen first is to, like Wolfgang says, check the foundation. You got to get all of those things figured out first so that you can inform the decisions you make down the road. And that's kind of where I think we're at. So if we're having this conversation late into the season and into next year, different story. But as of now, I'm okay with it. And I do think that leads us to our next talking point, which is, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Zips Fangraphs, they come out with their value of each team based on, I believe it's WAR. Every year, wins above replacement. And they just did the Rockies. If you haven't seen it, we've got a screenshot here. This is what they put for the Rockies. And I think it's a pretty fair value. I would have maybe given the bullpen a little bit more. They put the bullpen at 1.5 WAR.
I wonder what that would be without Senzatella in it.
True.
3.5.
And Peralta had struggled a lot. Mejia's definitely had a lot of ups and downs. Agnos was hurt. But if you guys let me know in the chat, do you disagree? Do you agree? Or is there anything that stands out to you where you're like, I don't think that's right?
Well, look how strong they are up the middle. I mean,
2.3, 2.7, 2.7.
7.7 just with your catcher, your all-star silver slugger catcher, your, gold glove center fielder and former gold glove shortstop as well. And then around that, not great. You look at the starters, and it's what we've talked about in visual form of this team, the players on this team, the way they've played. I'm not going to say that this is their end all be all, because a lot of these guys are, young. This is an all 26, 27-year-old or younger roster. They're replacement level players, basically. You know, that's what they are.
So we're talking about, this team theoretically, assuming that they don't make any big moves in this offseason. This is the roster that they enter into 2026 with. A roster that I predict will lose 100 games or more, because it's pretty much the same roster you had from 2025. What's the best case scenario here? If you're Paul DePodesta and you're saying, hey, we need to develop some of these guys. We got to squeeze whatever talent we can given this new coaching staff. What's the best case scenario here? What areas of that are you trying to really improve the most? Is it third base? Is it second base? Is it Jordan Beck in the outfield? Like where do you want to see the most growth?
First base. The Rockies need a legit first baseman, to me. They need a power hitting, left-handed hitting first baseman that can be a scary part in the middle of your lineup. Because we talked about it a little bit, and to get a little granular, the Rockies have a ton of right-handed bats. Their starting lineup, or what we just saw there on Fangraphs, there's Amador starting at second base, which will not happen, and he's left-handed. And there's Mickey Moniak starting in, kind of being your DH, or starting in center field, or starting in right field. And then Troy Johnston, I guess, is a left-handed hitter. I'm pretty sure. I still haven't seen. I couldn't pick the guy out of the lineup. But you need a left-handed bat, and you need a power-hitting bat in that lineup. Like, that's where first base is a spot that's too critical for good teams, which this team is hopefully going to be good, that you don't have a legitimate starter at. And I think, kind of interesting on this, and to piggyback on Luke's comment, these guys need to play better, in quotes. This feels different with a new head of baseball operations and a new front office. The guys need to play better, quote, hits different when it's a bunch of new guys saying this versus that's what the Rockies would have said the last 5 years. And that's what you got from their
We're
old
hoping for
regime.
a big leap of Chris Bryant.
When
and
you're like,
come on, guys,
we've seen this guy.
Yeah.
Now it's a new regime that has new ways to get them to play better, rather than just saying, hey, we hope the veteran sluggers KB. We hope these guys pitch better. A lot of hope. And we're banking on hope in general. Don't get me wrong. Like, we're not saying that these guys are definitively better than they have been, but like Luke's saying, there's so many different things that these guys may have never seen before, or different philosophies that may be used in how if they're a pitcher, how they're attacking certain hitters, if they're hitting and playing every day, training better, recovering better, like Luke says. So I think Luke hit the nail on the head with those two comments of these guys need to play better would fall on deaf ears for Rockies fans if it wasn't a whole new group with their new eyes and new philosophies saying that. Yeah.
And they will get access to different data, different analytics, different resources than what they've had, and how much of a difference that's going to make is yet to be seen. But I think if nothing else, you'll see, hopefully a little bit of an improvement from some guys. But there are some guys that I want to see more from than others. Kyle Karros is one of those. I need to learn more about what Kyle Karros is going to be. I don't know if we got a good picture of Kyle Karros in 2025. I wasn't overly impressed, but I wasn't turned off by Kyle Karros. He was kind of neutral in the middle, so I definitely need to see more from him. I need to see more from Jordan Beck. I know Luke loves Jordan Beck. I'm kind of a Jordan Beck pessimist at the moment. I'm leaning more towards the negative than I am the positive on him, so I got to be proven wrong. You got to show me a little bit more, show me a leap from him, some consistency from Jordan Beck. But if there's one position that I think, given the resources the Rockies have invested in, it's got to be pitching. It has to be pitching, both from a bullpen and a starting pitching perspective. Yeah, I get it. You play in Colorado. It's going to be hard to make any big leaps and bounds when you're pitching at a disadvantage no matter what. But you hired 4 guys this year now? 4 pitching coaches?
4 new pitching coaches and one entirely new position to the Rockies organization.
You're investing a lot of money into that. That has to show improvements. And the bar is set very low already. Rockies had one of, if not the worst, pitching staff in all of baseball last year. The bar is set floor level. If you can show me a 50% improvement, best case scenario, on pitching as a whole, things are headed in the right direction. Absolutely. If you can show me even a 25% improvement from a pitching perspective, things are headed in the right direction. So that's going to be the big thing that I'm keeping an eye on. I don't think that's what actually makes the biggest difference yet. I think hitting is what makes the biggest difference. Pitching is always going to be a struggle, but if you can kind of figure out how to stabilize your hitting, I think that makes more of an impact. But I think if we're judging what's working and what's not within the organization, pitching is just something that they've invested so much money into now that I have to see some return on that this upcoming year.
Yeah, you have to find guys that are either willing to pitch at Coors or like Kyle Freeland is...
Or just improving their pitching.
Yeah, Kyle Freeland is a resource for the Rockies in more ways than just going to the mound every fifth day. Because he's been here so long. He grew up in Colorado. He's pitched at Coors Field. He's almost basically pitched a no-hitter at Coors Field before. So he's a huge resource for the Rockies in their young talent, but also guys coming in here. And even though he's only been a Rocky for a year, Jimmy Herget's the same way. I mean, he's a massive success story in how to pitch at Coors Field, even if it's in short stints. Maybe he's a starter this year. Who knows? That kind of died, all that info. But the guys around the Rockies that have been here for a while, whether they've been good or bad, actually performing on the field can be a resource to the guys coming in here and the guys growing here and figuring out how to pitch at Coors Field.
Yeah, and last thing I'm going to say before we hit our next break is if I'm this pitching staff, Chase Dollander is the most intriguing person on this Rockies roster. Not just because he's one of the top, if not the top prospect within the Rockies roster technically, but he had a bad year last year, right? He had good moments, but he had overall a bad year last year. But he has so much raw talent that if I'm these top pitching coaches who have now started their careers or started the next step of their careers in Colorado, I'm frothing at the mouth to get a chance to work with Chase Dollander, because if you can show that Chase Dollander has year-end improvement, even again, 50% improvement from what we saw last year, that is a huge success in the overall development of this organization. So we got to hit our next break of the show. After the break, though, we have FanFest coming up, and I want to, you guys are going to get the chance, if you go to FanFest, to actually ask this new Rockies regime the front office questions. And I want to know what questions you guys are going to ask. I want to ask you guys in the chat, what questions would you ask? If you got to ask a question to Paul DePodesta, Josh Burns and company, what would you ask them coming up here at FanFest? We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Well, I want to give a quick shout out because we are jumping into a brand new Die Hard sale right now. And it's all because and thanks to the Denver Broncos for going and making the playoffs, winning that overall seed. Yeah, yes, you did.
Called it. I want to revisit that.
I know.
We should. Now it looks pretty damn good.
We should revisit that on TDSP. Spencer predicted that the Broncos had the best chance of winning a championship out of all of our three major teams, the Avs, Nuggets, and then the Broncos. And that was a hot take at the time, now not looking so hot. But because the Broncos are in the playoffs, we are doing a Die Hard sale, which means starting tomorrow, you've got $36. You can get a Die Hard deal for $36. That's saving $44, and you get a free T-shirt, which is awesome. They've got some new T-shirts coming out.
Pays for itself right there.
It pretty much does.
The T-shirt is $35. You get the intro offer. You pay $1 more, and you get a year of DNVR Die Hard access. Absolutely.
So good stuff. You can't go wrong. I know some of you guys jumped on the Die Hard deal this holiday season. And so you also, the cool thing about becoming a Die Hard is you get access to the Die Hard Discord. You just download Discord, put your login information in, and you can jump in there. Spence and I are usually in there. It's been quiet in the off season, but once the season,
Discord's fun.
It is fun because it's like only diehards. Like it's not like the other Broncos Discords or the Nuggets Discords where it's just like 1,000 people and it becomes overwhelming. There's like 10 of us in there that are just absolute sicko diehard fans that are just, anytime something baseball related, anytime something Rockies happens, I'm always opening up the Discord and seeing what the Discord chat is saying, because we're either crashing out or we're just like over the moon. Like it's a good place.
Yeah, Discord gets a lot of the tweets that I can't send on Twitter. Or I feel like I shouldn't send on Twitter.
It's fun. It's a good place. So you take advantage of that diehard deal right now and join us in the Discord. It's always a good time. But
real quick, I want to get to, while you guys throw those questions in there that you would ask the Rockies brass, or you're going to ask them if you're going to Rockies Fan Fest, January 24th. But I want to get to Cole's question. And he said, if any of the Rockies positional players start off slow at the beginning, do you pull them out of the lineup quicker than 25? And that's where I actually say no. I say you pull them slower than 25. I think that's the point. Instead of saying getting 100 ABs from a guy and it's mid-May and you're like, oh, he's not good enough, take him out of the lineup. I think that's where we're going to run into more issues and more rebuilding down the line.
Really? So I'm actually the opposite. I feel like, again, if we're trusting the staff that we have within this organization, seeing them for the first time in action in 2026, I think if we start to see a decline of someone who was kind of on the fringe, let's just use, I don't know, Kyle Karros or Jordan Beck, the two guys we were talking about just a moment ago. If we see a pretty sharp decline in their output once the season starts, I think you pull the trigger on that quickly and you let someone else come up and you see what you can get from that, because you have resources now to work with some of those new guys. And you say, hey, we send Kyle Karros back down to AAA. If he's struggling at the start of 2026, send him back down to AAA. Let him get some more reps at AAA. It worked for Jordan Beck last year when that happened to him, and technically Tolia too when he got sent down. And you give another guy a chance and see what, let's just say, Zach Veen does with this new coaching staff of the Colorado Rockies. I want to see some new guys getting a chance to work with this new coaching staff, because if you're in AAA, you're not seeing that. But they also did. Paul DePodesta also did emphasize guys need to earn it, not just get pushed into that spot. So guys, I do think what you're saying is probably going to be the reality of what happens.
Well, and I'll meet you in the middle, because I was very firm in that take, and now you've kind of talked me towards the middle. Let me put it this way. If you're going to, let's just use Kyle Karros. I love Kyle Karros. I think he's going to be a good player. Well, let's say Kyle Karros struggles. I don't want to see, if they're going to say, okay, we're going to pull a quick trick. Everybody's got a short leash on this team. Then don't recycle them back to AAA and hope that they're going to be good next year. That's what I don't want to see.
Yeah.
If you're, and it's been smaller moves with guys that have had decent blips in their career, and Michael Toglia, Warming Bernabel, get rid of them. Yeah. If you don't think they're a good player, or you don't think they're part of your culture or part of your future, don't just send them down to AAA and let them play there, and then they have a hot streak of 10 games, and then we're like, oh, maybe this guy should come back up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to see that. Now, if you're going to have a short leash on some players, I'm cool with that. I think that means that you get to see more, but I also don't want them to just recycle them back down to where next spring training, we're in next January 2027, and we're like, is this guy good? Is this guy not? Like,
it's odd for me. But it was what happened with Drew Romo last year. Drew Romo didn't even get a shot. I mean, at the big leagues, he got called up at the end of the season, much to the surprise of everyone, including Warren Schaefer. Yeah, who's like, why is this guy here? We don't need a third catcher. And then they cut him, right? Or they DFA'd him, and now he's on, I don't know, one of the three teams that signed him.
Well, he got cut again.
I think he got picked up a third time, though.
And then got picked up again. Yeah.
Crazy. So don't do that again. We don't want to see that back and forth. It just feels like inconsistent. I don't think this new organization, the guys in charge, are going to be doing that. But yeah, so I think the reality is they'll probably give a longer leash on these guys, because there's no pressure. You're not even sniffing the playoffs. So let the guys develop, give them a real shot, see what they have, and then make a decision towards the end of the season as it is. But January 24th, coming up here in a couple weeks, we've got Fan Fest. It's going to be a good time, always a good time. And the cool thing about this Fan Fest, aside from getting to see Larry Walker, you've got Charlie Blackmon, you've got all these other great names that you get to see, and a bunch of current players, of course. But the Rockies are making their front office available to fans. Now, I don't know if they're just going to do a select few fans, or if it's going to be like a forum where you're just passing the mic type of thing like you do with the players, Q&A session. Sounds like it might just be a Q&A session. But I want to know what you guys think what questions you guys would ask. I think it's going to be Walker Monfort. I think it's going to be Paul DePodesta. And I think it's going to be Josh Burns, who are going to be available to speak. Maybe Warren Schaefer might be in that mix as well. We're going to get some media availability. We're going to get to ask some questions. But I want to know what you guys would ask if you were there. If you plan on going, what questions do you want to ask? Drop a comment in the chat. I'm curious if we end up hearing a Chris Bryant question. That's the big one for me. That I just out of curiosity. I'm not saying that's the biggest question, but I'm wondering if a fan takes a stab at asking the tough question of saying, what the hell are you guys doing with Chris Bryant?
Yeah, and I think Rockies brass is prepared for that.
I'm sure they should be.
Every time it got asked in either the media scrums or at winter meetings when we were up, whether it was more public when we were talking to Warren Schaefer at first, or when it was more private up in the Rockies suite when we were talking to them, Paul DePodesta and Warren Schaefer later, they don't want to answer that question, but at the same time, they're smart enough guys to know that question's coming, and they have to figure out a unified answer on that from across the board.
That has to be a question that's asked. Wolfgang, that's a good one. Ask Paul DePodesta who plays him in Moneyball 2 after the Rocks win the World Series in 2028. That's pretty good. That's
Jonah
Hill's
good. Skinny now. He maybe
is Jonah Hill coming back?
He could recreate his career on that.
Yeah, and then which one does Brad Pitt play? Does Brad Pitt play Walker Monfort?
Yeah, and there's got to be, and maybe you get oh God, who's the guy from? Do you watch Landman? Not Billy Bob Thornton, but who's Tom?
I haven't watched it, but I know.
So the old dad in that.
Not Billy Bob Thornton?
Not Billy Bob Thornton. Billy Bob Thornton's dad in that. Yeah, he's a famous actor, and his name is just missing me. But that's who you get to play Dick Monfort.
Yeah, that's funny. That's really good. Man, that'd be a hell of a movie. I remember watching some great sports documentaries when I was younger, and just thinking to myself, one day I want my team to have that sports documentary, to have that
Are you thinking of Sam Elliott?
Sam Elliott. Thank you.
Sam Elliott
Have
playing
Sam
Dick
Elliott
Monfort.
play Dick Monfort. That'd be electric.
That's great.
Jonah Hill again with a prosthetic.
It would be one of, if the Rockies won the World Series, hell, if the Rockies made it to the World Series in 2028, it would be one of the greatest sports stories in all of sports. There's no denying that. I don't know if a feature movie would be made about it, but a documentary would be made about the 2028 Rockies if they even sniffed the World Series.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It would be
so electric. Absolutely
insane. That's what dreams are made of, man. Hell, I'll just take even being in the wild card by 2028, man. That would be an absolute miracle.
A playoff game back at Coors Field would be elite.
Hey, I mean, the Broncos, we've talked about this on my other show, the Denver Sports Podcast here. The Broncos shocked the world this year in a way, or really last year too, by kind of going from a team that no one expected to really be anything to not just a playoff team, but a Super Bowl team within 2 years. Now, football is a very different sport than baseball. It's totally different context. You draft a quarterback. There's a salary cap. You draft a quarterback. The quarterback can be the next John Elway within 2 years, right? And it's just he's our guy. And next thing you know, you're a dynasty, right? And that's just the way football is. It takes so much longer in baseball. So it's tough to compare the two. But it is interesting to look at some of our other teams who have gone from being rock bottom teams. We talked about it with the Nuggets. The Nuggets used to be terrible. The Avs, one of the worst teams in hockey not that long ago, to being a juggernaut, an unbeatable team in the NHL this year, winning a Stanley Cup just a couple years ago. It's not unheard of.
Yeah, see? Perfect.
Oh my God. That's some impressive producer work there by Yaya. All right. Now we're rolling this snowball down the hill. Sam Elliott is Dick Monfort. Brad Pitt is Walker Monfort. We got Jonah Hill, skinny Jonah Hill, playing Paul DePodesta in Moneyball 2. Who else? Who's gonna be Warren Schaefer?
You got to get maybe The Rock. Let's have The Rock play Warren Schaefer.
Yeah, I love that.
Hilarious.
That would be hilarious. I don't know if the acting is on par, but that would be fun. That would be. What other good bald actors can we find?
I actually think that skinny Jonah Hill might play
Jake Gyllenhaal.
He's gonna play Walker Monfort more likely than Paul DePodesta.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
that is
I think Jake Gyllenhaal. You shave his head, you see him in like Jarhead and stuff. He could play Warren Schaefer. That'd be a good casting.
Yeah,
I could
absolutely.
see that. That's absolutely.
You know
unhinged.
damn well Timothy Chalamet's gonna try to get into this somehow.
Yeah. We got to, because I don't know if you guys remembered this, but in the first Moneyball, like there's going to be a second in Moneyball.
There's going to be a second.
Yeah, what's that actor's name? He was in Parks and Rec, who played the first baseman. He was Andy in Parks and Rec. So why am I just spacing on his
Chris
name?
Pratt?
Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt was the first baseman. And I didn't realize that till I rewatched it. We were on a plane going to winter meetings, and I rewatched Moneyball for like the first time in like a decade, just to get me fired up for meeting Paul DePodesta again. And I didn't realize, that Chris Pratt was the first baseman. So
Great movie. It is a great movie.
it is a really good movie.
I gotta say the only
Jason
thing
Statham, good
the
one.
only thing I haven't liked about Paul DePodesta thus far is that he doesn't like that movie, and he probably has reasons that we will never know.
Yeah.
So that's fair. Like, I'm not saying it's unfair of him to not like it, but to me, if he would like lean into that after seeing the movie and that, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, that movie gave me legitimate hope that there's a way that they can just skirt the system and figure out, because I wasn't old
If
enough
the
when
A's
that
can
was
do
happening.
it, so can we.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. Statham's a good one. That's good. I think Statham could be a good Shafe. That'd be pretty fun. I would just love there to be a movie made about the Rockies, man. That'd be.
I know.
Spencer can play the disgruntled fan that is wearing a sell the team bag on his head.
I'll bust my sell the team bag. It's still in my office.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny to like look at that and see how I feel now about the Rockies. And
Yeah, you were wearing a bag
I
on the show
wore
like a year
bag
ago.
on the show in the middle of the season last year.
Yeah.
And I felt that strongly about my fandom, where now I look at that bag almost every day and I'm like, hey, I think we're in a better place now. I think we're in a better place.
Yeah, it is a hell of a roller coaster that we've been on for a long time. But things are looking a little bit better. We got to pause for our last break of the show. After the break, let's talk about some around the baseball world news and wrap up this thing on a good note. So we'll pause and be back after this. Speaking of the A's, I don't know if you saw this, but the Las Vegas A's /Athletics was denied for trademark by the patent office. Did you see that?
I saw some jokes about it, but I didn't see that it's like stemmed, because there was something that had the different logos next to each other, and it was saying which one they basically ripped off or which one looks more like this. So I didn't see the actual like decline.
I was going to ask, is that actually a thing? I saw it like briefly as I was coming across it when I was scrolling through Twitter this morning. And I'm like, if that's the case, then I don't know what the A's are going to turn themselves into if they can't be the Las Vegas Athletics or the Las Vegas A's. But it just came to mind while I was thinking of the fact that that the A's, were able to have a movie made off of them back when Paul DePodesta was a young Jonah Hill. Does he really not like that movie? I haven't talked to him about it.
No, he's very much like against it. Because I would imagine, like I said, we won't know the exact reasons. I would imagine because he wasn't happy with his name being put in it.
Well, I know that. He wanted to have his name changed because, I understand that, not wanting to be kind of have that carried with you for the rest of your life, although it obviously is. But they also played him in a completely different manner. I mean, you look at Paul DePodesta. Paul DePodesta, when I talked to him, he gave me more Brad Pitt vibes, not from a physical standpoint, but just from like his personality in that movie than Jonah Hill, the kind of dorky nerd.
Absolutely, yeah,
numbers guy.
Yeah, Paul DePodesta actually seems like
he seems like Brad Pitt in that movie.
Well, when you hang out with people and you just know they're way smarter than you, and you can look at his resume and Harvard and this and that, but some guys don't feel that way. I just felt being in the room with him, I was like, this guy's
so apparently
so smart.
I was talking to our buddy Kevin Henry, Denver Gazette, been a friend of the show, and he was saying that there was an article, and I don't know what the article is, but there was an article where this writer actually sat down with Paul DePodesta and watched Moneyball from start to finish and kind of interviewed Paul throughout the entire movie. And Paul was like answering questions of like, did that really happen? That didn't happen. What was it like doing this? And so I got to find that article because Kevin said that's like a real thing, that this writer sat down with Paul and actually watched the movie with him and wrote about it and kind of had like an in-depth article on that. That would be really cool to read. I just haven't looked for it yet. But
yeah, that'd be a great read. That's almost like something we could borderline like do a segment of the pod on.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like
that's pretty
figure
cool.
out what I'm just so excited to see what he actually does here. I think it's
I
so.
know. It's hard not to be optimistic. And, you know, look, you were just saying it. I mean, you wore a bag over your head halfway through the season last year. It has been as up and down as possible, but we are 80 games away. I think someone said it in the chat, 80 days away from spring training. It's hard not to be excited. It's hard not to be like optimistic, not of this team being a playoff team, not of this team being good by any means, but just of baseball being back, of it being different, of us being able to learn things, of us being able to come here on the show and say, all right, so that guy's not it, right? That guy's just hasn't made the cut. We got to move on. Here's the guys that you should replace that person with or whatever. Like just to be able to have conversations. And look, I'll be completely honest with you guys here on the show. We're at the point in the offseason too, where without any more news, we're gonna start doing mock lineups and we're gonna do some power power rankings and,
100%.
because there's just no news right now. Like we're just sitting here kind of recycling the same topics, and I get it. That's all there is to do right now.
We should do you guys should actually do a Moneyball watch along.
A Moneyball watch along. That could be that would be kind of fun. That'd be kind of fun. Yeah, if you guys have any topics you want us to talk about, drop it in the chat. You can always comment on Twitter and send us a message too. The cool thing about our Rockies show compared to like some of our bigger shows like the Nuggets and the Avs and Broncos is you guys actually have a voice on this show. You know, I mean, when I jump in and do like a Nuggets show or something like that, the chat, there's no way you even get in on the chat. I mean, there's no way your comment is heard. So we love to hear from you guys. We love to see what you guys have to say. So if you guys have any topics or things you want us to talk about, drop a comment. We would love to talk about things. But above all else, man, I'm just pumped. I'm super excited for 2026 to just see what this team looks like, to see what this organization does, to see how they calculate some of their moves and what approaches they take to the trade deadline, to the draft, to, you know, the All-Star games. I mean, All-Star break, like all of these things. I'm just pumped. I'm ready for baseball.
Yeah.
Give me some damn baseball.
We don't have hope yet, but we have a reason for hope. And I think that's the first step is like, we have a reason to believe that this team is going to get turned around, whether how fast or slow that's going to be. And it's a very low bar. Like I think the Rockies brass, like they want Paul DePodesta, Josh Burns, Tommy Tanu, they want to win a World Series. That's why they're here, right? Mm-hmm. But I think they also realize a little bit that they have such a low bar that if this team doesn't lose 100 games this year, they might throw a parade.
Dude, we might. Legit. Can we get another banner if they don't lose 100 games?
Yes,
that's gonna
another
happen.
banner will go up this year if they don't lose 100 games.
We're going to find a way to get a banner every single year.
Yeah, exactly. Just find something to have a banner about. But they have a very low, they just have a very low bar that's set for them. And a reason, if you're a true Rockies fan and you pay attention enough to the team, like pretty much everybody in this chat, I would believe does, and watch our shows or pay attention to Rockies content in general, you'll be able to tell that it's a different team this year, even if it's a lot of the same players. And that's what I'm looking forward to is there's a different reason for hope than like we talked about earlier in the show. These players need to play better. There's going to be different auxiliary reasons why the Rockies, you should have hope for the Rockies. And it goes much beyond like the national media will see the Rockies, let's say they're 55-1. I should have picked it 107. Yeah, whatever.
Sure.
If they're 55, I think that's all right, actually.
Yeah.
55-107, everybody on the outside will say, oh, it's just still the Rockies. But there will be, even though that is a 12-win gain, we'll be able to see a lot of different changes throughout the Rockies roster, throughout the way that they conduct themselves, throughout the way when we're in the clubhouse, when we're doing interviews with Warren Schaefer and we're talking to players, whatever it ends up being. I think there's a lot of there's going to be a massive different vibe around the team, which is a good way to start.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting question though, because we've talked about like what we think best case scenario could be, or even just an average outcome could be somewhere around 100 losses. What's worst case scenario next year? Where am I, running through my only one crash out that I get. And we're freaking out about, oh my God, if this is the same old story, or like what's worst case scenario, whether it be from a record standpoint, from an organizational standpoint, where do we actually see like concern coming for, things to look out for where we're like, that's probably not the way you want to do things?
I think we're already setting ourselves up. We looked at the schedule. We talked about in our predictions. April's going to be tough. March and April is going to be real tough record wise.
Yeah.
I think where I will start to get really concerned is if we don't have there's levels to this, but we don't have an emergency pod the rest of this offseason, meaning they don't sign one major league level player. That will start my concern. But I think if we get to the trade deadline and they go full Rockies like they used to at the trade deadline, I think that's when I'll start being that glimmer of hope that's out in the distance right now will start dimming itself. If they go through the trade deadline, and the trade deadline may hurt this year from a fan perspective. If Brenton Doyle's killing
it should hurt.
And they trade him, it's going to hurt for a moment, but it signifies that we're on a different path, or we're trying to recoup what we could get for him. If they go through the trade deadline and go full pre-2025 Rockies, because ironically this last trade deadline was kind of elite.
Well, this last trade deadline kind of hurt a little bit because you lost Ryan McMahon, and you're like,
you
as
lost
a fan,
Mr. Rocky.
Yeah, but we knew that needed to happen.
Yeah, and we
so it should hurt a little.
We could, if they're really bad and don't do anything at the trade deadline, I think that's where I'm reserving my concern for mid-July is that?
Yeah.
Mid-July, you're going to be...
For trade deadline?
Yeah, you're going to be fucking a new dad.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to be crashing out in so many ways.
Your future child because...
Zero sleep.
No trades.
No trades. Oh, dude.
Your wife's like, what's wrong? You're like, no trades.
Yeah. It's either going to be an incredible month of July or I'm going to be just in shambles. The trade deadline is going to be the big one for me. You hit the nail on the head. If this trade deadline is quiet, if it is same old Rockies with this trade deadline, I'm gonna be up against it. I'm gonna be, like you said, in the midst of just the hell of having a newborn and the schedule that comes with that, but also crashing out about, let's trade some guys, let's move some things. I just don't want to hear excuses, right? And I don't think we will. I don't think we have heard any excuses per se. But I don't want to hear a lot of excuses. Excuses got in the way of that last administration for the Rockies, and it just chiseled away at the enjoyment of everything from the fans. I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear the same stories that we've heard in the past without good explanations. I think the Rockies have done a good job of being transparent. They've done a good job of kind of giving some insight into their decisions while also not giving everything away. But I just want something a little bit different. I think fans are craving different. I think that's why we've been so positive recently about the Colorado Rockies, because it's just been different. I mean, and we're like, it's funny because I keep hearing so many other non-Rockies fans saying, well, isn't that what like every team always does? And we're sitting here saying, yeah, but we're finally doing it. We've never done that before. And now we're finally doing that. And it feels so good to actually have that be, the reality for us now. I just don't want to feel like we're going the opposite direction in that. So I'm that's worst case scenario. I am not worried about wins and losses. I mean, I say that now. Who knows what I feel like later.
The 24-hour rule will
prisoner
apply
of the moment.
We're going to be prisoner of the moment multiple times, whether it's a blown lead from the bullpen or a walk-off home run by Brenton Doyle. Like, we're going to have the highs and lows game by game. But taking a step back and taking a holistic view on the Rocky season, there's still ways they could fail this year.
Absolutely.
For sure. And there's ways that they could pleasantly surprise us in multiple different ways, right? Whether it's on a player-by-player basis or even as a whole team. They go on a 5, 6, 7-game win streak. They get some confidence. And you see confidence in athletes is, everybody has it. That's how you get to that level. But once you have it at that level, it doesn't matter what happens. Kind of the Broncos are a perfect example of that right now. Like, do they look like that much of a world-beating team? No, but they just keep winning, and you get the confidence to win. Last night, the Nuggets, with their last 7 players on the bench,
16,
they got a little bit of confidence, and look what happened. They can go win a game. So I think there's definitely a way they could worry us this season, but it's not going to come from anything you'll see in a box score.
100%. Last advice I'd give to the Rockies: stop posting KB birthday appreciations on Twitter.
Yeah, so if
you're
you guys
you're
didn't-
doing no one a favor. You're not helping
except
anyone.
him. Well, and he hopefully doesn't look at the replies. But
No.
here's some good replies. One guy from a Dodgers fan.
I'm shocked you even went through the replies.
I hope he has a successf's 26 and the Rockies are able to compete. What
That's
a nice
as
one.
positive as you can get.
And then you get down here, and it's he's currently gone on the IL to 2 blown out cheek muscles from blowing out the candles.
Jeez. I'm like, why do they do that? They did it last year, and I remember thinking to myself, why are they posting that? It's nothing good is going to come out of posting.
No.
I mean, happy birthday, KB, but it just can't be good. Twitter is not the place to post that.
A meme of from the heart from Zach Galifianakis with also a middle finger.
Jeez. There's no way the fans don't ask on FanFest. There's just no way. So,
And there's a lot of not ironically, because it's so funny. You ever want to get somebody riled up or like have a true KB conversation? Just talk to a Chicago Cubs fan.
Oh,
there's so
yeah.
many Chicago Cubs fans in this Rockies post about Chris Bryant. Like,
yeah.
God, I hope he gets healthy again. He's a true Chicago legend. Happy birthday, KB. And then if you can tell somebody's a Rockies or a Cubs fan based on their response to this tweet.
Oh yeah, and the Cubs fans are just over the moon for KB. Understandably, you won them a World Series, so good for them. All right, we got to wrap things up here on the show. We've got some other stuff we've got to get doing today, so we can't go too late. Thank you guys for watching. This has been fun. We will have all new topics, all new stuff to talk about, and hopefully some news maybe by next week. But if not, we'll see you guys same time right here next week. Thanks for watching, and happy Tuesday.
We all silly like the mayor.